Hey guys, this is Harrigan. Today I'm going to be showing you my project Batility. I'll be going into detail about the requirements that I've accomplished, as well as some that I've had to change. I'll also be talking about how my project is laid out and how it works. So moving on to my topic and why I chose it. As I said in my last video, my project has been making an Android application that can monitor and record on electrical current going into a device and report that data to a user. I chose this project for a couple reasons. The first being that batteries and their charge rates are very interesting to me. I think a lot of people get really frustrated when their devices aren't charging the way that they want it to, and I feel as though this project can help to educate them on how the charging works for their device. Another reason why I chose this project is because the mobile application market is growing really rapidly, so I knew that I wanted to make an app. I chose the Android platform for a couple reasons. First is it's free to get started developing apps. There's a lot of online resources, educational resources like YouTube and online tutorials, and then the development platforms are also free, so like Android Studio and Eclipse. So moving on to the requirements for this app and what my application does. Uh, on this page I have three of the biggest requirements that I had for my app, and I'll go into detail about what they were. So first I wanted the user to open into the main menu that shows the user the main battery information about their phone, including charge level, charge current, and temperature. I also wanted to give a classification for the cable and power brick combination so that the user can get an idea of how effective it is at charging their phone. And then at the bottom of the main view, I wanted to have a visual display of how much battery remains that changes with the battery level of the phone. So the second main requirement I wanted was to have a second view that allows the user to save a combination to their phone and then to compare it to another combination within the same view. And I wanted this view to be extremely user-friendly in the sense that the user can't break the app or come up with any error messages. And the third main goal that I had was a settings menu that would allow the user to customize their app. And for this goal, I wanted them to be able to change the temperature scale from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And I wanted them to also be able to change like the theme of the app, so the colors and background images. And lastly, I wanted to have a about and help section for the users to go to if they needed any help or had any questions. Apart from these requirements, I also wanted this application to be extremely user-friendly so that anybody could figure out how to navigate between the views. And I also wanted to make sure that the user got notified if their battery status was failing or if their Android operating system was out of date or just not compatible with the program. So now I'm going to take you guys through the basics of how my application works, and I've put some pictures below just to give you an idea of the layout and how to navigate between the views. So the first image is the main screen, which appears when the user opens the app. It brings up the basic information for the user about their battery, as well as that image that I was talking about earlier that changes with the battery level. So just that battery image. And then the second image is for the compare view, which has a couple buttons at the bottom. The first button, save, will test the combination several times over about 5 seconds and get an average charge rate. And then the second button, compare, will test what is currently plugged in the phone with what the user has saved, and then it'll put that information into a results box to let the user know. The save button will work at any time. However, the compare button only works if the user already has a cable saved. So it'll also alert the user if they haven't saved a cable yet, and make them do that before they compare it. The last image shows the drop-down menu for settings. Originally, I wanted the settings menu to be a completely different view. However, after working for a long time trying to get that view to work, I decided that a drop-down menu worked better instead. So now I'm going to talk about some limitations and complications that I've had. The first limitation that I had was the inability for the Android Studio emulator to accurately emulate certain portions of the phone. So for instance, you could emulate battery levels through that emulator, but you couldn't get the variables that would read the level of current going into the phone. And so to get around this problem, for each iteration of my app, I just loaded it directly onto my phone and tested it that way. And then another limitation that I had was one that I was talking about earlier. I was having a lot of trouble getting the settings menu to work, and so I just compromised by changing the settings menu into a drop-down menu. So although I've accomplished most of my original requirements, there are some that remain. By the end of next week, I want to have my application available on the Google Play Store. The main reason I haven't done this yet is because I don't feel like it's ready, but it is something that I really want to do because then people can test out the application without having to get an installer for the device, and I can get feedback much easier. Another thing the future holds for this project is continuing to work on the user interface. This is something that I don't think will ever be completely finished, just because there's always something that you can improve on for the user interface. And then I still need to work on the About section for this app. So everything works as it should, but I still want to make this About section just so that the users, if they have any questions, they can have it as a quick reference guide. Thanks guys for listening, and I will see you in class, and let me know if you have any questions.